Very good afternoon, Mr. Mac. It's a pleasure to have you here with us. Could you just let us know a little bit about your background?
Like my degrees are mostly in electronics and communication engineering, then a master's in robotics. So I'm mostly a technical geek at heart from a professional part. But today I don't do anything with technology. I'm completely dealing with people and building large communities of business owners. That's what I do right now.
I mean, looking at where you are today, it's always an inspiring moment to see you. But it would be more inspiring for our audience to understand how did you come to this level, and were you always so inspiring, or did you come from a totally different background to this?
Yeah, I mean, I've been blessed to have many experiences in life. Of course, everybody has got a story. Either they have gone through a particular struggle that they've overcome, and so my struggle is maybe no different from many of our entrepreneurs who on a day-to-day basis go through different struggles. When for me, my first challenge was years ago when I finished my schooling and doing my engineering. I wanted to go and study abroad in the US because the environment at my ecosystem at my home was not that conducive. And I grew up in a quite affluent family. My dad was a business owner, had multiple cars, large house, but over a period of time, because of alcoholism, we lost everything, right? And so, but it's time for me to go and start off my life. We had no money. I love gadgets, like electronics. So I used to like open them, repair them. And I'm talking about school days, 11th, 12th. So I used to start making a little bit pocket money on those. And in engineering days, when I was doing my final year, I used to do like what you call printed circuit board designs. So I used to also help students from other colleges come in and ask me to do the printed circuit board design. They'll have the electronic one, but it has to get transported to a PCB. So I used to do all the designing for them, and I started saving some money. So I saved up like a half a semester's fees. When I got an admission in the US, I just went on faith. I somehow walked out with half a semester's fees, and that's it to the US. It's like then after that it's like crazy. Once you're there, I was working like 4 different jobs, though you're supposed to work only one or within 20 hours, right? I was working in Pizza Hut, closing even we had a campus Pizza Hut. I was working in the dean's office, in the library, in the what do you call their store. Also, there are like 3 to 4 jobs. It was just a buzz. I was in a time warp just to get ends to meet. And these were like in the 90s, okay, 1991 is when I went first to the US. So getting my room rent paid or, just the food. I remember a couple of stories like I was staying in Indiana. The weather was getting cold. I didn't have enough money to buy what we call like the comfort. I had taken a couple of bed sheets from India. Okay, it was damn cold. So even saving up in those days, $60 to go buy that comforter was a big, accomplishment for me. I also remember the time when I had saved up some money to buy a cycle to go back and forth from campus. Campus was at least a 20-minute walk away. I park it somewhere, and this is the day I bought my bike. It's a used bike. Park it in my apartment complex, and the next day morning I come, the rear wheel somebody has flicked it, gone. Okay. So those times, then I was walking back and forth. Many nights it will be cold, like 2 a.m. when I wrap up and be snowing. Sometimes my colleagues at the Pizza Hut would, hey, look, I'll give you a ride back home. So it was, those were days I also appreciate, because I was working with folks whose career was in pizza. I knew I was just, for me it was a short duration there. But learning, the one thing that I learned over there was not having that you know it all attitude. Okay, my very first job in Pizza Hut, it is a what do you call minimum pay job. I'm there. I'm standing at the assembly line, and my boss Charles White, he says, "Okay, now top a supreme pizza." I have no clue. Okay, and coming from South India and being a vegetarian, I have not handled beef. Do not know what a pepperoni looks like. No clue. Okay, but thanks to a 16-year-old student girl who was standing next to me, she pointed out, "Hey Mac, this is how you top a supreme pizza. Okay, this is where it is. This is how a pepperoni looks like." Okay, and that's having having an open mind that you do not know all, and there are people who are much younger than you that you can learn from. And I learned that, that part. I learned another thing from Charles White, who was my manager. He was very fair, because at the end of the day, we had to clean dishes, we had to wrap up the, break down the oven, degrease it. So at least an hour once the shift gets over to clean up. And every time we had a bunch of people working in Pizza Hut. So to be fair to all of us, he'll put our names all in a bowl and he'll ask us to pick, or at least he'll put the job chore in a bowl and ask us to pick. So sometimes I would get dishwashing, sometimes I'll get the front cleanup, but he taught me how to be fair with our employees. So these things, though it's in a completely different environment, teaches you how to relate and be appreciative of the people that bring you along the way to where you are right now. Right? Now when I land in Bangalore and my Mercedes comes and picks me up with my chauffeur, they all think, oh, Mac is a lucky guy. Right? There's most people, I think that's what the perception would be. Or when they see me on Facebook traveling one guy, they all, yes, but luck is something that if somebody says you're lucky, I say, yes, I'm lucky. But they have not seen the struggles. And I'm sure many entrepreneurs have gone through various struggles. I believe that you either go through a struggle in the early part of your career or business, or you will have to hit across a struggle at the later part. Let's say you're already, funded and came from well-established, economic cycle. There will be a challenge, and that is the beauty of the universe. The universe will give you challenge only because under the challenge is where you're going to grow. Otherwise, you'll never grow. You'll always, have that. That is the part. The challenge is you need to wait for this challenge. So that's the one that helps you grow to the next level in your life. Yeah.
I mean, absolutely inspiring. I mean, I wasn't aware that this would be your backstory, and this is really inspiring in so many ways. More power to you for all the initiatives that you're doing. Could you let us know a little bit about the most difficult moment of your life and how did you overcome that?
All of us go through several challenges in life, and I don't know. I just think each of these difficult moments in life, looking back on it, was just things that brought me on to the next level in terms of experience. Of course, while going through the challenge, it's like a nightmare. What did you do? What happened? And there's several of those. I can't even point. And anyone who has to grow in their career has to go through these bunch of challenges. Okay, so there are 4 stages in any business or anything that I always talk about on stage as well. We talk about the forming stage, the forming of an idea, the forming of a particular event, a particular chapter being born, a particular business or a new product. That's a forming. The second stage all of us go through is called the storming stage. You started it, now comes the storm. And most people give up what they're doing because of the storming stage. They get overwhelmed by it. But they have to realize after the storming stage comes the norming stage. Things become normal and then becomes performing. So knowing that there are 4 stages in your business life cycle, in a product life cycle, I wait for the storming stage because I want to get that done fast. Okay, tomorrow we're going into a very large event. That'll also have 4 stages. That storming stage either comes in the beginning part of the event or it'll happen in the later part of the event. But there will be some hiccup that will be in every event, there will be some hiccup. And when that hiccup comes, is to understand, hey, that is the normal life process. You want to get over the storming stage in terms of somebody will have egos. They will want to quit the project. They will say all kinds of drama will happen. Okay, and once you're aware of this, you just sit back and wait for it to get to norming. You don't get perturbed by it. So if you ask me what are like some of the large challenges I've had, one was, as I told you, I moved to the US, large challenge without any money. I had to actually pull in money from other relatives just to show that I have enough bank balance to pay my funds. And the moment that was done, the letter was given, there's no money in my bank account, right? So large challenge. The large challenge for me personally was when I was moving back to India. I was in 2003. I was very well settled in the US. I was a vice president of another IT company, doing very well, moving to and grew along the from IT route to managing route. Okay, so there's another story. Is part of what I learned in that process, because I joined as a technical geek, like a computer programmer. But when I moved back to India, I was already managing director of the firm, right? So I learned along the way that if you build yourself as a person, the world will fall into place around you, and people will value your relationship and people building skills more than any technology that you can. I can always hire the best architect. I can always hire the best engineer. I can pay and hire the best super geek to design whatever I need. But the person who's able to manage people and relate with people is way worth a lot more. So these were some things that I had various mentors in my life who taught me to read books. So that's another thing I would encourage our entrepreneurs. You continuously invest in yourself, either reading books, going to conferences. In every year, you need to have a budget for yourself personally to go to a particular. I went to so many conferences, like, Tony Robbins changed my life many times over, gone to his conferences, Jack Canfield. But those days I didn't have money.
Tony Robbins, 3 days fully.
Yeah, as a student, or when you're early part of the career, there were like almost 6-7 people sharing a hotel room in order to go. We were broke. I remember sleeping in the floor outside the bathroom, in the hotel. Like, we were like crazy, did crazy stuff. Sometimes it takes that the craziness to go and accomplish this. So I was telling you, like, when I moved back to India, big challenge. Okay, do I need to move back or not? So that's a different story on how I got back to India. But after getting back to India, now I know why the universe made me here in India. Was the BNI opportunity came along, me able to impact more. India helped me find my purpose, saying that I have to impact over 1 million lives before I get switched off. Okay, 1 million lives can be in terms of BNI. BNI for me is just another tool. It's another ecosystem where I can help people. There's schools that we support, over 1,000 kids we support. So these are things that never had an opportunity if I was just sitting in the US. Nowhere. I couldn't have had that. Then another major challenge happened for me was when BNI headquarters asked me to take up the operations of India. And I was like completely baffled. How will I do it? Right? Or taking up the Asia Pacific operations or global operations. When you're walking to a different country and you're now, they have to be responsible. You're commanding that they have to follow certain principles. I think it's a completely different
ball game altogether.
Yeah. Or when I sit in the our what do you call the executive leadership team for our company, and maybe I'm blessed to be there because very few people of a different race or religion will get to that. Get to that. And now many times when I'm sitting in awards function tomorrow, and I'll be giving awards to so many people, everything, man, I have really failed so many subjects in my life. Someday in engineering or something, Absolutely. I've done so many times, but then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, guys. You go through those mistakes, you overcome, and as you blossom as a person, you will have opportunities to make an impact on other people's life.
That's good. Today, when you see where you are, who are the people who like to thank or you feel that had played a very vital role in your life?
I think a lot of people. I think I made a list one of my closest mentors that I would like to thank. I don't want to list each one of them, but at least a dozen people, And normally thanking or gratitude always in my daily sequencing view of my many times I have this gratitude routine in the mornings. Mm-hmm. So gratitude to your immediate family, right? Because the very fact there is a family, there's a support system. So the gratitude to family, gratitude to business partners, gratitude to the staff that help you run your business, or my day-to-day people who help me support. So I actually think of them. I have gratitude for the day ahead that's coming up, the people that I'm going to be meeting. So there is a sequence. I learned this from one of Tony Robbins' courses. Like when you're out there walking in the morning, like many of you know that I walk 10,000 steps a day, and I did that for more than almost two plus years every day without fail. Now because of travel and I'm not able to do that, but I do as much. So the gratitude sequence he covers, it's like a circle. You first go with your personal circle, then your business partners, and then you give gratitude for the events that are going to happen up in future. Okay. The client meeting that's going to happen. So there are about a dozen odd people that played a very key role. Like there's one person who played a very key role because when I was in the environment of all alcoholism in my house, my brothers, my dad, there was no money to buy milk, but they'll somehow find money to buy alcohol. That's one of the reasons why I don't drink alcohol. Not because because I said, okay, I don't want to put my family through what I went through, right? So at that point, there was one person who kept the beacon for me and said, Matt, you don't need to live this environment. You study a little bit better and you strive to go to the US. Okay, if that one person didn't have that faith or give me that confidence, I wouldn't have got to the US and I wouldn't have come back to India or changed the life or I'm impacting many other lives. I want to be like that one person in all our entrepreneur's life. When I say I want to impact 1 million people, I want to impact it in that way. So when I came back to India, it gave me an opportunity. When I was building this back office and IT and call center in the nights I used to work, there was a guy called Ravindran. He was from Maharashtra. He was my security guard for the night office, right? So I was sitting there every day. When I leave at 2 a.m., he'll say good night, sir, and 2 or 3 a.m. I was wondering, he's a sharp guy. He speaks nicely. How can I? He said, hey, Ravindra, come here. Do you know how to type in computer? He said, no, sir. Then I sent him to a typing class. Sent him again to some data, Microsoft data. Said, from now on, when you're sitting, you do this data entry part for my company, the one the US company was giving me client. And so his salary went from something like $8,000 to like 25, 30,000. Wow. So in a small way, each of us can impact somebody else's life. Absolutely. Instead of just walking past them and thinking, okay, they're just a security guard, or they're just a cleaner, or no. Each of them, if I can impact and light their fire and take them to the next level, just like somebody else did that for me when I was a teenager, where I could have easily got swayed and got into drugs or alcohol. Somebody swayed me against it and gave me a bigger glimmer of hope. So that's what I want to do for others.
We all know you as an inspiring person you are, but what is that hidden side to you that inspires your professional life, that is your daily routine?
There are things that will boost up your energy, kick up your energy, right, in life, and takes you to a different level. Maybe meditation, maybe maybe yoga, maybe it's a walk, maybe it's playing racquetball or tennis. For me, my routines are a little crazy because I work various shifts. If I was in Singapore, my typical routine would start like at 10 a.m. in the morning when I start interacting with India, wrap up around 2 after I finish my India, China, 2 a.m., 2 in the afternoon. Then I take a break from 2 to 6. I have lunch, I do take a reboot of my brain, and then from 6 to until 2 a.m. in the morning, I'm working. Okay, so it's like a 2 to 6 type, because from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. I'm sleeping again in the morning, right? And I'm up by 6. So there's a 2 to 6 window on the top side. So I sleep like cat naps. Okay. It's only like 4.5. When you look at my average, about 4.5 to 5 hours of sleep each day. But that is my current routine by choice.
Do you push yourself? I mean, what do you do on a low day?
On a low day that's a very good question, because all of us will have low days. Okay, and you can go in and get into spiral downward. Or for me, basically, I like to go and sleep it off sometimes, or sometimes I like to listen to music. And not only low day, every night when I'm done at 1:30 a.m. or 2, I go and I love listening to music or a YouTube, or watch a live performance or an inspiring story of how they built the Hoover Dam, something completely out of your and that's another thing I learned. You always need to push yourself to learn a subject outside of your domain. Okay, so if you're now in digital marketing, you need to go and learn something completely different. Go learn tarot card reading. I'm saying completely different. Okay, or go learn because these things there'll be things in those various businesses or various entities that you apply back to the business, and you're able to relate more with other folks. So I constantly go learn some other topic that's not related to me at all. So that's some of the things I do in the night, like 1:30 or 2 a.m. in the night, when I'm just about to de-stress or completely take off. And all of us will have down days. You need to find that one person who you can talk to. They will not judge you. And they know that you're just dumping on them for that particular moment in time. And once it's out of you, you're able to jump back in. And they will be able to do the same thing with you. You need to have that space. It's very rare to find that one friend that you can count on at 2 a.m. in the morning. You can pick up the phone and say, look, this is what's happening. You don't need to give me any solution. This is what they did to me. Listen to me, and then we start having some fun after that.
What part of your life gives you tremendous happiness? I mean, yes, BNI is there, impacting entrepreneurs is there, but what moments really add that happiness factor to you, which people don't know about, like small things which you really look at to?
Day-to-day life, I think right now I was in Mongolia, right? I was sitting there in this small hut, round hut, and watching the landscape and just thanking God for the blessing, right? Happiness doesn't have to come from a travel, happiness could come from just helping your parents. Happiness can come from helping a kid or we support a lot of kids in their school education. I don't even know who they are, but Suddenly they'll say, hey, Mac, this is the person that you funded over the last 10 years and now is graduated and going to a larger school. But happiness can come in multiple ways. Okay, so I think it's just being grounded, not to let things get into your head. There are two words that I learned from a mentor. Her name is Sidra Jaffrey, and she's no more, but she helped me. She's originally from Pakistan and was living in UK. And she helped me saying, Mac, there are two words that you need to always remember. One is forgiveness. Okay, we are here just because, we are here to experience Earth, and part of the Earth plane is you're going to get, you're going to learn jealousy, anger, so you need to forgive people who hurt you, not forget, but forgive them and say, okay, with this, my contract with you is complete, in the sense that I don't want to learn that lesson again. You've already taught me once about, somebody like cheating you on money. Okay, thank you. I've learned the lesson now. Okay, you move on, I move on, type of thing that she taught me. The second word she taught me is gratitude. When you're put on a spotlight, you need to shine that spotlight back to somebody else. Thank you. Everybody say, okay, Mac, congratulations, you've done this, won a particular award. The spotlight, give it back to my team, if not them. Because if you don't give that spotlight and think you're the one that made it happen, it becomes ego, and that will be your downfall. So these are the two words I would encourage all our business owners to know: forgiveness and gratitude. I operate my life based a lot on these two words.